To begin, I'd like to invite an elder from the Huron-Wendat Nation.
Of the Huron-Wendat First Nations to offer words of welcome.
So this is Francis and several bishops and cardinals participating in a smudging
However,
ceremony.
I'll ask you something special. You know, with the pandemic, a lot of things changed in our ceremonies, and we had no choice but to adapt. When I light the sweet grass and make my link with the four directions, and when I bring the sweet grass to Pope Francis and a feather from a wild turkey, which is an element of survival for the Wendat on the land. So I will give him that sweet grass and the feather. Sweet grass purifies through the smell.
If you want to pause it for
Through
just
the
a
sense
second.
of smell.
Yes, I was just going to say, if you look at this, is the difference between Christianity and a naturalist paganism, a pantheism. Right? Christianity takes creation and blesses it, right? So we take about the Ember Days, the minor litanies, the bringing things to church to bless. Creation needs to be sanctified, where this is the opposite. Things in creation are already seen as sanctified and are brought to us to sanctify us. It's backwards. Do you see that?
Exactly. And this is essentially, it's basically like a caricature, some have described it, the smudging ceremony, a caricature of Catholic sacramentals and also of exorcism, because it's meant to, quote unquote, purify, as you just heard him say, but also to drive away negative energies and bad spirits or whatever and welcome the good ones. Well, God help us, you know, who knows who they're welcoming with these. We know who they're welcoming, sadly. So later on in this ceremony, we might be able to play a little bit more, but essentially what this man explains to the crowd is that he says, we will honor earth, wind, water, and fire. We will honor the mineral aspect, the vegetable aspect, and the human aspect. Notice what's missing from that. Honoring God. And he also talked about...
Did you want to play this later clip or not?
Yeah, maybe we can play the later clip in just a second.
Okay.
He also talked about, he addressed each direction as if it's a person, east, south, west, and north, and asked each direction to, quote unquote, open its door. That is not a good thing. Open its door to what? Well, he explains it later on, and we'll hear this in the final clip, but he says, quote, I ask the Western grandmother to give us access to the sacred circle of spirits so that they can be with us, so we can be united and stronger together. So we'll take a look at this next clip.
I'll open the four directions. I will whistle 4 times. This is a wild turkey bone I've had for about 20 years, and I use it in my ceremonies. And before I do that, I'd like for you to put your hands on your heart.
Now this is significant.
Each one
he asks everybody to put their hands on their heart. Look at all of them. They are actively participating in this.
The heart can be like a talking stick. But that's where the Creator put wisdom in humans. And we often need to remind ourselves of this.
I'm not sure if Francis is even awake. Well, there he goes.
There he goes. Right.
Ourselves with that wisdom.
So here goes the whistle. So in his left hand, he's holding the bowl with the burning sweet grass or whatever's in there. And then through this whistle, he's supposedly summoning the directions and calling on the spirits and such.
I asked the Western grandmother to give us access to the sacred circle of spirits so they can be with us, so we can be united and stronger together.
That's pretty much the extent of it. So, the circle of spirits is not the communion of saints. Let's be very clear about that.
Yes.
Let's not put some kind of a spin on this. This is not legitimate enculturation. This is pagan. This is a pagan ritual.
And he calls himself, the person says, these religious ceremonies. He doesn't say it's just a folk song. It's religious in his own admission. And there we have the vicar of Christ violating, at least objectively, cannot speak about his subjective understanding. Right. He said maybe we thought he was asleep there, but objectively participating in a false worship against the First Commandment. I mean, that's what that is.
Right, and he essentially reinforced verbally his active participation in his prepared remarks, which took place a little bit after the ceremony. He said, quote, "The Holy See and the local Catholic communities of Canada are concretely committed to promoting the indigenous cultures through specific and appropriate forms of spiritual accompaniment." Maybe he thinks that's what that is, accompaniment. That include attention to their cultural traditions, customs, languages, and educational processes. In the spirit, he says, of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So essentially, he's surrendering to their demands to place the one true faith on the same level as false pagan religions.